Hello Game Makers, this is GameMaker Rob and this is the second part of our name creation tutorial, and in this episode we are adding lowercase letters, adding maximum name size, graphics, holding down buttons to make the cursor move, and sound effects. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is inside the create event of obj name creator we are going to add global.pcell and we're also going to show lowercase, because we're going to add lowercase letters in now. Next thing we need is in the step event where we're taking the player input, we want to add these two lines, so we're checking for GP select or VK shift, and we're going to select global.pcell to true or false with that. And then if we scroll down and just after the region where we press cancel, we're going to make a new region. And all we're going to do is every time we press select, if lowercase is true, it's going to become false or vice versa. This is a really easy way to toggle a boolean. It's a good trick to use. And now we are going to go into the draw event just to display lowercase. So draw GUI. And right after we are getting the letter, we're going to put these lines of code. Always saying if we are showing lowercase and we're showing one of the letters, so A to Z, then we're going to get the Unicode. So what the Unicode is if we go to help and click on UTF-8, this here lists all the Unicodes. You can see that the lowercase letters come after the uppercase letters. That's why I decided to do uppercase first rather than lowercase. And all we're doing really is when we're displaying them, we're adding a number to whatever letters being displayed. So let's have a look. Get to the GUI again. So we're just adding 32 to the Unicode. And that changes a capital A into a lowercase a, and the same for any other letter. That's all we're doing. So if you run the game, press 1, and we press select, you can now see all the letters changing from upper to lowercase, and that's just down to these two lines there. Okay, so close this down. We haven't actually changed any letters inside the string. So when the player switches to lowercase, we're going to need to check whether we are showing lowercase or not. And then if we are showing lowercase, then we need to add to the Unicode again. And we're going to do that inside the step event. So pressed OK if new letter equals OK. No, so here we go. So if new letter is not equal to OK, we're going to paste in this code here. So we're going to change to lowercase if needed. So if we're showing lowercase, just the same code again. We're adding to new letter and then adding that letter to the string. So if we run the game, we should now be able to add lowercase letters. There we go. Awesome. There's actually one more thing that we need to do. I totally forgot that with the font that I'm using, it won't show up the @ symbol, and I think if you press OK on a space when it's set to lowercase, you're going to have an @ symbol, which you probably don't want. So to avoid that, we're just going to check in the step event to make sure that a new letter does not equal a space, and that should do it. So the next thing we're going to tackle is the putting a limit on how long a name can be. So if we go into name creator, create event, and we'll just plonk it here. So what a macro is, they're for constants really. So if you want to just set something as a constant, for example the maximum letters in the name, you can just do this and it will show in a, well, I'll show you. You can just type this now and that's going to be the same as 16. You could do it as a global. You could do this, to be honest. But in coding languages, normally something in all capitals means a constant, and it's going to let you know that this is a constant too. If you come back to this in say 3 months time, you've totally forgotten what it is. If you know that every time you have a variable that is in all capitals, you know it's going to be constant, and so will anybody else that looks at the code as well. So we're going to set that to 16. I want to test this as well, so let's change that to 6, and then in the step event, so just before we're checking if new letter is not equal to OK, I'm going to put this, and I'm actually going to move this bit here. Put it here. So letter count is a string length of current name. So if there's 4 letters, hero, it's going to return 4. And we're just checking to make sure we're not pressing the OK button and that we haven't reached the maximum letters yet. So if we run the game, we should only be able to have a name with 6 letters. Press 1, delete that. There we go. I can't add any more. Awesome. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is make it look a bit prettier. In the room, I'm just going to add this background sprite. It's the sprite is about twice as large as the room, so we're only going to see like this part of it, but it looks a lot better than a black background. And in name creator, in the draw GUI event, we're going to draw this image here. When I was working out the coordinates for the text, I did it based on what I'd drawn here. This is not calibrated for a long name. You can probably fit about 12 characters in there for the size that I've done. So, you know, just make whatever GUI you need to for this. So inside the draw GUI event, just going to put this here. Let's run the game. So we can see here, please press 1, and it's not too bad. It fits in there fairly well. We press select. Let's add some. That's not too bad. Okay, so we're going to give the hero a sprite now. So let's give him this sprite. It's just 3 images. It makes him look like he's walking like this. And then let's just put this code here instead. So if name creator doesn't exist, draw itself, and then draw the hero's name here, so just above its head, hopefully. I'm going to change the draw GUI to just a draw event. Let's just see if this works. Don't forget to move the character. Let's have him there in the middle. Okay, so there's Herpes in the middle of the screen. So now we want to draw the hero sprite in the actual name creator itself, because what I didn't show you is, let's just run the game again. We've got the character in the middle. If we press 1, we're not drawing him, and we want to show him in the top left here. And how we're going to do that is inside name creator, draw GUI event. As soon as we have declared start Y, start X in the draw name region, we're going to paste this code here. So we're just getting the width of the hero sprite, and remember we set inside obj hero, we set character name as the ID of the hero. So we're grabbing the sprite index of the hero. So even if you have different sizes of sprites, it'll work out the same. Actually, we actually need to change this bit as well for that to be true. So you can have several heroes with different size sprites, and now this code will work the same for all of them. And for if we just drew the sprite, it would just be one frame and it wouldn't animate. So we're actually going to get the image index of the sprite from the hero itself. So even though the hero is not drawing itself, we're still going to draw an animated sprite in the name creation bit. So if we run the game, we should be able to see that in effect. Press 1, and there we go. You'll notice the size of the sprite is smaller. That's because we're drawing this in the GUI event. Okay, so now we are going to get to the player input. We're going to hold buttons down, make it a much nicer experience for the player when they're making names. So the first thing we have to do is in the create event of the name object, we're going to add some more buttons. We need held left, held right, held up, held down, released left, released right, released up, and released down. So it's a fairly big list of input now. And now that we've done that, we have to actually check for the input. So in the step event, in our player input region here, we're gonna, let's make a new region inside here. Let's say pressed for this. And then let's just paste this in here. So I guess we don't need a region. Let's just do this instead then. Okay, so we've got held for holding left, right, up, down, and released for left, right, up, down, like so. Okay, so there's a few more variables before we get into the actual moving bit. Go back into the create event, and anywhere is fine. We're just going to add button ready. This is whether we're ready to move the cursor or not. Button timer and time until button ready. So if we're holding down the left button on the D-pad, we don't want the cursor to move every step of the game because that's going to be way too fast. So whenever we're holding down a button timer is going to increase, and when it reaches time until button ready, it's then going to set button ready to true, and then based on whatever button we're pressing, we're going to move left, right, up or down on the grid. And as soon as we've done that, we are going to reset button timer to 0, and it's going to happen all over again. If we are simply just pressing left, right, up or down, then button ready is going to get set to true, so we can move, and button timer is going to get reset. And if we are releasing either left, right, up or down, then we're going to stop the timer. We're going to reset it to 0. This is going to, so say for example button time was on 7 and we didn't reset it. Next time we hold down a button, it's only going to take 3 steps to get to this, and it's going to make it feel really weird. So it's really important to reset this every time we release a button, anything like that. So let's get on to the next bit now. If we go into the step event, and let's minimize this. So where we're moving the cursor, we're going to paste this in here. So if the button's not ready, so if button ready is false, we're checking for held left, right, up or down to increase the button timer. Once we get to 10, we're going to set button ready to true. And here we are. If you're pressing left, right, up or down, then we set the button ready to true straight away, and we don't forget to reset this to 0. If we release any of the buttons, then we reset the timer and we set button ready to false. Okay, so the last thing we need to do is to modify our input code here. So if button ready we can do all this, and then after we've done any of the input, button ready equals false. And also we need to add in some more checks. So if pressed left or held left, do that. If pressed right or held right, and do that. If pressed up or held up, oops, wrong one, and do that. And if pressed down or held down, do that. So I think we are ready to test this. Let's run the game. Press 1. Just press it one time and it should move across. If we hold it, it should be a lot smoother. And if you can even hold down diagonals. It's going to act a bit weird, but yeah, awesome. So the last thing we're going to add is sound effects. I've got one for OK. Like that. One for cancel. One for move cursor. And one for finished. And I make them all using bfxr.net. It's really easy to use. So where we're going to add these sound effects is in the step event of the name creator. Every time we press a button, we want to do audio play sound SND move cursor priority 1, and we don't want it to loop. Every time we add a letter, so here we want audio play sounds SND OK. When we press the OK button, we want audio play sound SND finished. And what have I missed out? priority. And I'm sure you've guessed, inside this we're going to make a small modification. We're going to make it into curly brackets. So if letter count's greater than 1, but you know what, we can just play sound anyway. It's not going to be a big deal. We'll play it. We'll play it whether there's letters to take or not. Audio, play, sound, S&D, cancel. And oops, I've done it again. And we want the player to know if he gets to the maximum letter size. So where should we do it? It would actually make more sense to have this here for that. Because then if we're at the maximum, audio, play, sound, S&D, cancel, 1, false. So I think I'm at 6 letters as a limit. There we go. Yeah, so let's just test the sound effects now. Press 1. There we go. Awesome. And there we have it. That's the end of the tutorial. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'd also like to thank you for your support over the last few months. It's been a big help to me, and I love it when you want to show me the things that you've done, or you have new suggestions, because I always worry that I'm going to run out of ideas to do, and then I'm probably going to stick up some cat videos or something. So please help me avoid making cat videos. I will catch you next time. Bye for now.